right. Well, welcome into the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. Matt, Shane, and Jason with you guys tonight. As you can tell, we do have a fourth member on the screen with us, but we will get to that in a second. It is a special guest. Spoiler alert. Guys, if you guys want to follow us on any of our social media platforms, you can find Shane at Shane Parlay FF. You can find Jason at Jason Parlay FF. You can find myself at Matt _ Parlay FF on the old X machine. Okay. Head on over to parlaypod.com. Check out our articles, guys. We do officially have 2 writers now that are writing articles for us over there on the website. And then don't forget, go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you guys listen to your podcast. Give us a follow, a subscribe, leave us a review, hopefully a 5-star review. That would help out big time. It does help out the show, though, guys. But much love to everybody out there who has subscribed, who is showing support. We hope you continue to do that. Spread the word because we want to keep this train moving north. Okay, we want to continue to build the brand. So that being said, before we introduce our guest, Shane, Jason, how are you guys doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic, sir. Also, shout out to our haters because those are the people that really keep us up at night. Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to see your lovely faces again. And, you know, aside from a little audio snafu, I'm so excited to be here right now.
Yeah, great to be back. Love seeing y'all every week. I can't wait for this episode. We got a special episode for y'all. And without further ado,
Yes, without further ado, guys, on tonight's episode, we were blessed to have this man accept the invitation to come on to the podcast with us. But he is the editor on The Last Word on Sports and the co-host of Fantasy Football RPG. Welcome to the show, Mr. Mike Kash.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the invitation. It's always fun to talk ball. Whatever day of the week it is, normally we do Tuesday nights, but now we got Wednesday, and then I think I'm going to be doing some writing and some reading over the rest of the week. Newborn at home, so weird hours now, but just really excited to get into a little bit of fantasy football, even though it's June.
Shane, what do you think?
Best time of the year, baby. When no one else is doing the work, you're doing the work, and that's what matters. And yeah, we're so glad to have you here, man. And you know, congrats on the new kid. New fatherhood life is fun. I am also going through that a little bit myself, and yeah, it's just it's fun. Strap in for the ride.
Extra sleepy. It's good.
That's right. That's right. Okay, guys. So tonight's episode, what we're going to be doing is Mike came on here with us. We're going to be kind of doing a little interview with him, seeing his aspect and kind of where he sees things in the whole fantasy realm. We have a tier battle that Shane created, which is going to be kind of cool. We'll get to that here in a little bit. And then we are going to talk a little bit about players that were potentially fading for this year in our drafts that are upcoming and so on and so forth. Guys that we are just kind of out on the year. But that's going to be kind of where we go tonight with this. It's going to be kind of fun, just kind of random. So, Shane, why don't you start us off? Why don't you start us off on the show sheet and just ask Mike something?
Yeah. So, Mike, when you are building a team, what's your first priority? Do you search for value? Do you focus on like specific build, whether it's like wide receiver heavy or running back heavy? And this could be best ball or dynasty. It just kind of depends on whatever you're searching for. And then, or do you just like target like your guys? Like that's also something that people kind of get locked into. So which one do you say you are?
Yeah, I love this question because it's like the heart of fantasy football to me. It's knowing who your league mates are. So in my family league, I have a very different draft than when I'm doing a random big online tournament on Underdog. Like you need to know who you're drafting with, what they're searching for. Right now, wide receivers are wild in Underdog. I did a draft the other day just to see what it would look like, and I went with 3 running backs early. And then I ended up with Christian Kirk as my wide receiver 1. Not ideal. So you just need to understand what kind of room you're working with. I know Friends League, one of them specifically, like one guy only drafts Lions players. If I want a Lions player, I need to get him before he does. So just understanding what they are looking for, what they target, that will let you get your specific build. When we're talking about those big tournaments on Best Ball, on Underdog, DraftKings, whatever, I really want to hit those wide receivers early so that I have 2 to 3 weekly producers that I know, like I have a safe floor. And then I'm really hammering quarterback, tight end, very projectable, predictable positions. And then just sprinkle in running backs throughout. So if there's somebody that I think is undervalued, like a Jonathan Brooks coming off of an ACL tear, Alvin Kamara was just the RB3 in points per game, and now he's the RB18. Like there's just opportunities for pockets of value. So very long-winded answer to say all of the things, but really know who you're drafting with first.
Yeah, I love that because that's really what matters is winning your individual league and it's always nice to have an evolving strategy when it comes to that. So,
yeah.
When you talk about when you do your best ball stuff and you're talking about how you want to build your team,
Mm-hmm.
does it matter like what position that you're like drafting in? Does that fluctuate some things for you?
Yes, definitely. So if I'm in the top 3 spots right now, it's pretty cut and dry. You're either taking Christian McCaffrey, CD Lamb, or Tyreek Hill. After that, it's open season. If you're drafting the 12 slot, you saw the question on Twitter the other day, like, who do I take here? It gets real gross real quick. So at that point, you're starting to look like I really need 2 good wide receivers that I feel good about. But I feel good about the next 25 wide receivers. Let me take a running back I feel really, really good about and then go from there. So you have to be willing to flow with how your draft is going. You have to be willing to just look at the board and what the people are doing and adjust on the fly, which is part of the fun.
Now, Jason, do you have anything to ask him? I have another question for him, but do you have anything you want to ask him?
No, go ahead. Ask away. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you feel about? Because I know I see it kind of different everywhere, but I know a lot of people are kind of big on like stacks in best ball, just because you're shooting for that high ceiling, that very high upside, because you're trying to. I mean, you're competing against thousands of people. So, how do you feel about that? Or are there certain stacks that you prefer depending on where you're at in the draft, the spot you're in?
Yeah. Some of the stacks are extremely easy to get, and we talk about the importance of stacks. Your advance rate goes up. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's pretty substantial. It's like 20, 30% if you get a stack that is actually viable. We're not talking like Daniel Jones and Daniel Bellinger. We're talking like A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, or like Justin Herbert and whoever his wide receiver 1 ends up being this year. Like there are opportunities for you to get value there. But you also you don't want to reach too much. Like right now, I think people are reaching way too much on the Texans stack because they just think these guys are going to be wide receiver 1s or 2s, and I'm going to get a top 5 quarterback in CJ Stroud. If both of those things aren't true, you're probably drafting them way too early. So you need to, again, be flexible, understand what's going on. And I really enjoy, there's something new that I'm doing for the Fantasy Football Astronauts this year. I'm going through and projecting team by team and using historical target share data, how the players are really like looking to move forward. Like younger players normally get better, older players normally get worse. That's pretty easy to see. And trying to figure out team by team what their median outcome could be. And in going through that exercise, it's really flexing my brain and trying to figure out like, okay, we say T. Higgins is going to be great. How good is he going to be? What is his historical preference? And like, how does Joe Burrow target the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 when we talk about Jermaine Burton? And then you can get cheaper stacks, because now if you get Joe Burrow, everybody's like, oh, I have to have Jamar Chase. I have to have T. Higgins. Nah, man, go grab some Jermaine Burton, wide receiver 3. He catches a long touchdown. Now you have a spike week that can help you advance in a big tournament.
Hey, Mike, real quick, watch your mouth on the Texans slander. I'm a Texans fan. Hey, just watch your mouth. I know.
Don't get me wrong.
I know you weren't saying any slander. Just say
I'm going over on the win total. I'm going over on most of their season-long props, but their season-long props, it's not showing that CJ Stroud's going to be a top 5 quarterback. It's showing he's going to be like quarterback 8. I love quarterback. That's cool. I'm not drafting him as quarterback 4.
Right. And that's leading me into my question. Is like, when do you look for drafting quarterbacks? Because like where Shane and Matt and I, we always talk about kind of punting it for a little bit in the draft to where we can stack running backs, wide receivers to where we know the top 3, Patty, Allen, Hurts, Lamar, all those guys. They go kind of early and people reach for them. What's your aspect or what's your strategy when it comes to drafting a quarterback in a draft?
I love this question because it's another one that changes year after year. So you're trying to get that stud that you feel good starting every single week. But I'll talk about best ball first. There's 2 strategies that I like to live and die by. It's either the 2 quarterback or the 3 quarterback build. If it's 2 quarterbacks, I have an elite one and then one I feel pretty good about. So maybe I took Josh Allen early. Maybe I took Jalen Hurts early, like Lamar Jackson. And then I take a Matt Stafford, Caleb Williams, like a Kirk Cousins, depending on how you feel about him. You get somebody with a safe floor that'll make you survive weeks if your stud does poorly. Or quarterbacks have spike weeks all the time. Like Baker Mayfield was just the quarterback 10. Did anybody expect Baker Mayfield to be the quarterback 10? No, he's not. I love him, but nobody expected that. So then you can wait a little bit, and instead of spending early premium draft capital on a quarterback, you can go get your 4th wide receiver, and now your team is loaded. And then you can go get Justin Herbert is quarterback 1. He's currently quarterback 17 on Underdog right now. Let me go grab him, Will Levis, and Bryce Young. And then hopefully their spike weeks make it work. So you either want one guy you feel really good about and one you feel average about, or 3 that you're like, they're all okay, and they probably have their
yeah.
And then in draft. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you mentioned Bryce Young. I just did a best ball draft today, and I stacked Bryce Young and Deontay Johnson. And, like,
you feel great about that.
I feel good, but part of me was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? But I feel good about it.
At their prices, like, even if they're, a quarterback 2, like low-end quarterback 2 and a low-end wide receiver 2, you hit it out of the park. That's a home run.
Yeah.
But then at redraft this year, I am waiting so long because there's a film study over at Fantasy Football RPG. I look at the All-22 film because I have to cut up all of it for the Astronauts Film Lab. And then I'll take clips that I think are pertinent for this player's development, what they can do, and what their strengths and weaknesses are. I am over the moon about Jayden Daniels this year. His rushing floor is going to make him extremely viable. He's an underrated passer. He gets Terry McLaurin. Did you guys know that Cliff Kingsbury has never run an offense with less than 570 pass attempts? If he gets 570 pass attempts, he's going to explode. So however you feel about the individual talent, the coach is going to let him air it out. And he has the legs to make it happen. I can see you shaking your head. I don't care. I'm waiting on, and I'm grabbing Jayden Daniels with the last pick of my draft. He's the quarterback 17 on Fantasy Pros ADP right now.
The only reason I'm shaking my head is because Matt and I have a bet going on of which rookie quarterback finishes higher, Jayden Daniels or Caleb Williams. And he thinks Jayden Daniels finishes higher. In fantasy points.
Jayden all day, baby.
Caleb's going to pass for more touchdowns. He's going to pass for probably 600 to 800 more yards. Jayden Daniels still might beat him in fantasy football. So,
he's going to run for his life, I think.
They're going quarterback 16 and 17. So, if you prefer Caleb Williams, wait and draft Caleb Williams. If you prefer Jayden Daniels, wait and draft Jayden Daniels. If you don't like either of them, here's a couple of guys outside the top 12 right now. Tua, he was a top 12 quarterback last year. Justin Herbert was a quarterback 2 in years prior. Trevor Lawrence just got a new deep ball threat. Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels, Kirk Cousins, the points per game king before his Achilles tear. Baker Mayfield was just quarterback 10. Just go grab him and enjoy it. The Pittsburgh quarterbacks, when they start, they're going to be good. There's so many options that you can feel maybe not great about. They're not going to keep up with Josh Allen, but you can plug them into your lineup and survive a week and then find a streamer later.
Right. So you're saying you're punting quarterbacks to at least round 6-ish.
Oh, I'm probably punting my whole draft unless, like, if Anthony Richardson falls into my lap, I will take him. If Jordan Love falls into my lap, Dak Prescott. Kyler Murray's quarterback 10 right now. What are we doing? Kyler Murray, quarterback 10? He's always been a top 10 quarterback in points per game.
Been pounding that drum. The Kyler Murray drum has been definitely beat on this podcast. By the way, I was laughing. You were talking about the Bryce Young stack with Deontay. That's actually one of my favorite targets late in drafts is the stack with Bryce Young and then also grabbing Baker and Kate Otten because it's cheap value. And it's gross because I feel disgusting doing so. But I'm always like, that's a week 17 correlation, and also it's a fun stack, and they both have value, and it's just. But it's at the same time you like cringe when you do it. You're like
But Kate Otten, he's what, like your tight end 2, 3, like whatever. He's free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100% free, 100%. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Mike, what advice would you provide to people who kind of want to do what you're doing right now with the fantasy industry?
So first and foremost, just start. There are so many sites that are looking for content creators. There's so many opportunities to get into like the fantasy sphere. It's not as, hard to get into as it was in years past. Like in 2005, you had to try and write for ESPN or you had to have your own blog and everything else was closed off to you. Now, like you guys are looking for content creators most likely. Last Word on Sports is hiring. The Fantasy Football Astronauts are hiring. There's all of these little sites that it's not going to be your full-time job, but for something that you can do for funsies after work, like you're already doing the research, you're probably already on Twitter, you're already doing all of these things, like just take the leap and figure it out afterwards. So once you have started doing it, then you'll get pulled into these environments where like there's all sorts of people that have pulled me aside and that they've given me great advice. I finally figured out how to make thumbnails that are better. They used to just be hilariously bad. So sorry to anybody that checks out the Fantasy Football RPG channel, but I got better at it because Jetpack Galileo has taken me under his lap. Like Jagger May, who from Football Guys, has really helped me with some of my content creation. He's the reason I have a ring light and you aren't looking at me in the dark. Like, there are just so many great people in this industry that want to help you, that want to teach, that want to be in your corner. So just start and then find somebody that cares about you and get better every day.
I like that. It's, you know, the one thing that I would tell people, and we talked about this on our podcast too, is if you decide to start your own podcast, don't go a year and then quit. Because the chances of you making it somewhere after a year is probably slim to none. There's thousands and thousands of podcasts out there. You got to keep grinding. Like Mike said, you just got to keep grinding. That's good. That's really good advice. It's really good advice, Mike. Okay. We're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be back with you guys shortly. This episode is brought to you by Nevin Eyewear. Upgrade your style and protect your eyes with Nevin Eyewear. Designed with precision and crafted for comfort, Nevin Eyewear offers a stunning range of sunglasses and optical glasses that blend fashion with function. Whether you're hitting the beach, driving, or just out for a stroll, Nevin Eyewear ensures you look your best while safeguarding your vision. Shop now and experience the perfect fusion of elegance and durability. Head over to parlaypod.com and ParlayFF on YouTube. Click the affiliate link to get the best deals possible. Don't miss out on the latest trends. Again, parlaypod.com and or ParlayFF on YouTube. That's NEVEN.com. Elevate your eyewear game today. All right, we are back. And guys, we're all still here. Internet hasn't crashed. Power hasn't gone out. We're still all Gucci here. Shane, what did you ask him next one?
Yeah. Additionally, you guys just heard us plug Nevin. Jason, I think, is gonna have some cool version of some of the Nevin Sunnies here in the future. So if you want to check out how those look on somebody, you know, Jason does have a smallish face, so it may not be your face. You know, make your own choices. But he'll be out here to promote some of their products and show everybody kind of what they look, maybe. So
should wear them on the show.
Yeah,
there you go.
I think that if he ends up doing it, we'll have him wear them on the show. We'll give a little modeling tip for us all. So Mike, if you're looking at a player, what is one thing that you causes you to change your perspective on that player?
Yeah. The first one and the easy one is they have a underlying metric or some production number that just I wasn't expecting. So I really thought after year one, Jahan Dotson was going to the moon. He was going to be a top 24 wide receiver. And then I looked at all of his underlying metrics and I was like, oh, he has a 15% target share and he had 500 and something yards. When you're just looking at fantasy points per game, you're like, oh my gosh, he's great. I'm all in. But like 50% of that came from touchdowns. It caused me to temper my expectations a little bit. On the flip side, if you see an underlying metric that makes you excited, like somebody has a really big target share, but it just doesn't convert to points, then that gives me a little cause for excitement and maybe they can, you know, football bounces the right way. They catch it a couple more times and now that lets you move them up the rankings a little bit and feel a little bit better. The next thing that I look at are coaching changes and how they employ their players. There are some, I talk about this all the time in our divisional things. There are good coaching changes, there are neutral coaching changes and bad coaching changes. Good coaching change, like go get a Mike McDaniel. That will make you feel good and warm and fuzzy. Neutral coaching change, I think Clint Kubiak, this is just my personal opinion, is medium. He's responsible for 2 of the most medium offenses. He did go learn from the Shanahan tree, and I hope that he got better. But his baseline is medium. So that should be what we expect unless something changes. And then there's bad ones. Like we all knew Jeff Fisher wasn't good. We all knew like Arthur Smith is the fantasy football terrorist. So we're just looking for players that, you know, coaches that get us excited about players and can promote their offense a little bit better.
Yeah, and also we stand making fun of Arthur Smith on this podcast because Matt is a Steelers fan, so it just hits home. Yeah. It hits right in the right spots.
I mean, he drove FedEx stock down bad.
One of those is a Deontay Johnson helmet, so from his Steelers days. So
nice.
Let's get excited for Pittsburgh. Arthur Smith is better than Matt Canada. I will give you that.
Facts.
A slight upgrade, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned Jahan Dotson, and you were talking about the underlying metrics. Do you feel similarly about Jordan Addison as you did Jahan Dotson? Because
I am glad you asked. Let's pretend that a team threw for one of the most attempts in the league and has a historical basis for that. And then you take the counting statistics of a player in that offense, and you're like, oh, they're good. They must be good. He had 900 yards. But then his target share was crap. His target share when the good players were on the field was crap. His yards per route run was 1.3 something. Yards per route run should be like 1.5, you're concerned. 2 is a good number. 1.3, red flag. So as long as the Vikings continue to pass at an absurd rate, we should be comfortable with him. But do we think that they're going to continue to do that with J.J. McCarthy? Probably not.
Do you think J.J. McCarthy is going to be the starting quarterback starting the year?
Starting the year, no. Week 4, probably.
Okay.
I think it's kind of where we all.
They're trying to keep their job. They're trying to like ease him in. He still needs a little bit of time in the slow cooker. I don't think Sam Darnold goes out and sets the world on fire, but he's probably a viable starting quarterback for Superflex leagues.
I like that. Also,
I like that.
Yeah, this is also an Aaron Jones plug. Additionally, it's a knock on Jordan Addison, but it's an Aaron Jones plug. So yeah, do with that as you may on that one.
No, I just have a real quick question about like redrafts and redraft leagues going into redraft 10, 12 team leagues. Are you a guy that's trying to go? I know it depends on where you're drafting in your redraft league. Are you trying to stack receivers early based on what the NFL has gone to with receivers? We're going half point, full point PPR, or are you still going after that top tier of running backs? Because we know that running back dead zone where it comes into play, and if you do stack your wide receivers, you're basically gambling.
Yeah. This is probably going to bleed over a little bit. Your question for later is talking about how best ball is bleeding into redraft. Like wide receivers used to not be this high because like people were just talking about running backs and quarterbacks. And 10 years ago, everybody's taking quarterback in round 2 because they couldn't name other players. Now the average fantasy fan and the average fantasy player has gotten extremely better. They're listening to podcasts like this with super informative people like you guys. And now we're seeing wide receivers that they're healthy and they're strong and you're reliable. Like this is a Ford F-150 that you're just getting in it and taking where you need to go and pulling what you need.
Yeah.
They don't want to take their, 1980, 300,000 mile car and hope that it starts. Like that's what your old running backs are turning into. So I am going to target Christian McCaffrey because the difference between him and the RB24 was like 150 points. That's not real life. Like that is literally league winning. I'm going to go target Bijan Robinson because I think he's an otherworldly talent and still young enough that outside of a freak accident and injury is unlikely. And I'm going to target Breece Hall because the ACL tear has recovered and he fought his way through it. And I think that he is another reliable person that is going to be a staple in your running back room. Everyone else, the difference between the RB4 and the RB18,
exactly,
doesn't move me emotionally. So,
that's a good point. Everybody be paying attention to that because that's a very, very, very good point. Real quick, Shane, before we get into the tier battle, because I know that's next, I do want to ask you one question because I know it's a question that a lot of people they have problems figuring out. Right?
Yeah.
You're in your home leagues, you're in your friend leagues or whatever. And you have a team that you know is not going to make the playoffs, but he's so emotionally attached to the players that he will not trade. What would be your advice to try to convince him to trade? And it doesn't even have to be redraft. It could be anything. Like, because I know I've ran into that, and I'm not emotionally attached to players. Everyone's for sale on my team. If you're going to give me good compensation for it, what would be your advice to those people who are trying to get these other guys to come up off these players, but look at it in a positive, like spin it in a positive way?
Yeah. So the first thing that I heard is that everyone should be sending trade offers to Mark right now. You should be like, while we're on the show, send him offers in his dynasty leagues, get him to go and look at them. But in order to get them to work with you, we talked about knowing your league. You also need to know the people in your league and like build relationships. It's not necessarily about always accruing the most value. Sometimes it's about like building that trust, building that bond. There's people that I play with that we have never met in person, but like they'll send me trade offers from other leagues and they're like, what do you think about this? And like, that's because they trust me and we're friends. And little do they know, and sorry if you're listening to this buzz, but like, that's how I know how they value players, because they're like, what do you think about this? And I know that that's close enough to get them thinking. So if you have an opportunity, like be a kind person, most of your interactions, never be the guy that when somebody sends you a bad offer, be like, you're an idiot and I hate you, don't send me offers. Just be like, hey, that's different than my value. And like, I'm not really looking to do that. So if you build that relationship, then over time, you can get them to be like, hey, man, that's a dynasty team. You need to rebuild. Christian McCaffrey is not going to be long for your team. Send a strong offer to get them off. Sometimes it's not necessarily about getting all the value. It's about making your team better. And if making your team better means giving up a little bit more, that's fine.
So you're basically saying if you want somebody and they're emotionally attached to them, it's not about basically just like telling them that, hey, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? I'm offering the best value for it. It's gradually getting them into the fact that, hey, you got to lay out the facts for them.
Yeah.
Then if you have to overpay, you have to overpay for a person that they're emotionally attached to, and it is what it is. If you really want this guy, you're gonna have to go out and get it.
So on one side, that guy's emotionally attached to him. If you're only willing to go get that player, you're also emotionally attached to him.
Right.
So
okay, that's fair. Mm-hmm.
I love trading in tiers. So if I have guys, let's say I feel similarly about, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Nico Collins. Obviously, like they're all very different in the dynasty market, but like I feel very similar about those three players. Go get the one. So there's your opportunity to be like, hey, I would prefer to go get this player because he is cheaper in the market, and this manager that I work with already works with me more often. So now this is an opportunity to just be like, I can't get this player. Like I can't go get Bijan Robinson. I can go get Breece Hall. I can't get Josh Allen. Let me go get Patrick Mahomes. Like there are players that are in similar tiers, and just target all of the players in that tier all at once and send a similar offer for all of them. See who bites.
I like that answer.
I like it.
Thanks.
Shane, you ready?
Yeah, I am ready. I hope you guys are. Did you guys bring your boxing gloves? That's the real question.
Oh, here we go. I don't know if I'm ready for this, but we'll see. We're going to get into some arguments.
Boxing gloves on the screen here? Nope. Okay.
Can't wait.
Worth a shot. All righty, fellas. It is time.
Wait, I did.
Oh, you did bring boxing gloves. Hold on. Those of you on YouTube can see this.
He's got that dog.
Is this the Canales? This isn't the
Jason's
Canales
got that dog
glove.
in him.
Well, we have to get props. Those of you that are listening, sorry.
I
Jason has
bring
props.
my boxing gloves. I'm ready for this, guys.
I'm scared.
Alrighty, folks. So we have 3 players fighting. We're going to do a tier battle here. We are going to call them the guy in the blue shorts, the guy in the red shorts, and the guy in the green shorts. The blue shorts is your blue chip prospect. He is your high-end draft pick. The red shorts is the middle round draft pick, and then the green shorts is your late round. Sometimes they are a little green around the gills and, maybe deserve a little bit more love. So, without further ado, let me introduce our first battle of the night. Coming in the featherweight class, this is the Slot Guy Knife Fight event, featuring, in the blue corner, Chris Olave. Coming out of the red corner, we got Chris Godwin. And coming out of the green corner, newcomer, Jermaine Burton. Who you got? Let us lead the way. Mike, if you want to lead the way for us, who you got?
Yeah, I would love to. So this is factoring in cost as well, correct? Because obviously, I would rather have them in the order you laid them out. But at cost, all of the reports out of Bucks camp is that Godwin is going back to the slot. He is going to be the king of that zone, and he's not too far removed from a top 12 finish. So I would rather take Chris Godwin and plug him in as my wide receiver 2 at wide receiver 3 or 4 prices right now. I think let me pop on over to ADP, Fantasy Pros, half PPR, Chris Godwin. We have him at wide receiver 33. Would you rather take him at wide receiver 33 or Chris Olave at wide receiver 11 if you feel about the same about them? I'll take Chris Godwin. I do have a soft place in my heart for Jermaine Burton. I think he's a dog. I think that he's severely undervalued. In normal people leagues where they only play 3 wide receivers, he's probably not cracking your lineup very often.
Definitely. Now, if you had to rank them in order, so it would be Godwin number 1, and then would you go Olave and then Burton as to who you would rather have, or would it be? I know that's tough.
Who I would rather have?
Well, like within cost,
yes,
like within
cost.
Yeah.
With cost, I will take Godwin, Olave, Burton, which is probably the only time I've put Olave over anybody. But I do think that Olave is still a plug-and-play wide receiver 2. I just don't think that he's the wide receiver 11 people think he is.
Yeah, definitely get that. Definitely get that. Matt, would you like to give us your take on this?
I mean, to be honest with you, Mike hit it kind of on the head. That's where I would rank them. That's who I would rather have number one. And it's not that I don't think Chris Olave is an excellent receiver. I think he's a fantastic receiver. He's fantastic talent. And I'm not going to be angry with anybody if they chose Olave over Godwin based on their own, their own metric, their own rankings or whatever you want to call it. I just don't, to be honest with you, I got more faith in Baker Mayfield than I do in Derek Carr. I mean, that's just my perspective on it. I mean, Baker Mayfield showed out. What he finished QB 10 last year? I think he finished around QB 10 last year.
Yeah, he finished as QB 10.
Yeah, and Godwin, it wasn't overworldly last year, but we know what Godwin can do, and if he is going to be back in the slot, like Mike said, I feel way more confident in Chris Godwin putting up those numbers that I want to see at his value being my wide receiver 2 or my wide receiver 3. So I do like Chris Olave, and I do like Jermaine Burton. Shane sniped him from me in a dynasty draft that we had just a couple days ago. But at the end of the day, he is a rookie. He's unproven in the NFL. I want to see what he does with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And yeah, I think Mike hit it right on the head. I think I'd go Godwin, then probably Olave, and then probably Burton.
Real quick, thought this was interesting. If we take touchdowns out of it, because I think most people can agree that's the most fluky stat, Chris Godwin was at 196 fantasy points, and Chris Olave was at 201. So they were 5 points away.
Yeah, they're the same player.
So I'm gonna take a different route. Yeah. Hell no. I know based on garbage time of what happens with the Tampa Bay offense. Hey, Baker's my boy. I grew up with him. I know that Mike Evans is garbage time Mike Evans, and I've won fantasy leagues over garbage time Mike Evans. I love it. And Godwin is injury prone. Olave, I don't trust Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a fluke of a quarterback, but at the same time, I trust Olave in that offense because it seems like last year, it seems like Raheem Shaheed was the only guy he knew how to throw the ball downfield to. So at the same time, hey, give me Olave over Godwin. I really want to say Burton over Godwin right now, but I don't trust it with T. Higgins still being there. If I knew T. Higgins was going to get traded away right now, give me Burton over Godwin.
You do realize. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I agree with the if T. Higgins leaves, but I would move Burton over a lot because now you're still getting wide
You would.
2 or 3.
Okay.
At cost.
But, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because obviously, in my mind, it's Olave, Godwin, Burton in rankings, and that's how I will rank them out. However, Jermaine Burton, where's he at right now? He is
wide receiver 70.
At
least in best ball, he's wide receiver 70.
With his injury history.
He's 74 on half PPR. He's behind Marvin Mims. He's behind Wan'Dale Robinson. He's behind Xavier Legette. I'll take Burton for free 99 instead of Olave with my 1-2 turn.
I agree with what you said. With Godwin's injury history and Olave knowing that he can stay on the field, I would trust that.
How many concussions has Olave had?
I was actually going to ask you a question, Jason. Who's missed more games the last 2 years, Chris Godwin or Chris Olave?
Ooh. Boom, mind blown.
I believe it's Godwin.
It's Olave.
I think it's Godwin.
Oh,
it
is Olave.
No, it's Olave.
I know that Olave had the 2 concussions. He had one his rookie year and then one last year.
Yep.
But I was trying to
Godwin
think if
played
Godwin
all 17 games.
Yeah, I was like, he didn't miss any last year because I had him on my team, and then I was like, did he miss one? Did he miss time the year before? I don't think.
You got my ass right there. But at the same time, I just know who the ball is going to in garbage time. It's not Godwin. It's Mike Evans.
He'll get a ton of targets.
All right, and then my ranking is similar to you guys. I have Godwin, Olave. Well, actually, sorry, I have Godwin, then I have Burton at cost, and then I have Olave. It's only because I don't think that Olave deserves the wide receiver 11 tag right now, and it's not that I don't have faith in Derek Carr. I think that the major issue is I think that offense will have to evolve. And I don't know that necessarily it ends up in the favor of Olave. I think that it becomes more of a shared offense going forward. And that's kind of what we thought was going to happen with Michael Thomas last year. And then Michael Thomas, did Michael Thomas things and didn't play. I don't know that they necessarily added anybody into that, but like looking forward in Dynasty wise, that's how I kind of did this process. I would much rather take the shot on a player like Burton at wide receiver 74 and be okay if he misses than turning and burning a 11th pick on a guy like Olave that just will kill your team. And so that was my honest to God response on that.
Do you think he's going to outperform Boyd?
On the Titans?
What he put up? Yeah.
Oh, what Boyd put up in years past? I used that as my baseline. I think Burton is a better athlete in all aspects, but I do think Boyd was a more refined receiver coming out.
Right.
So for what the offense wants him to do, I think Burton is a perfect fit, and he's going to really complement Chase and Higgins well. But if he plugs in as the wide receiver 2, now we're talking about him as a spike week, deep ball, pray for it, and it's going to be super fun in best ball. It's going to really hurt in redraft.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
For sure.
All right, so the card.
On your next one.
I'll say the card shows our boy Chris Godwin as the winner of the round. So it was, it was a decision of 3-1 for Mr. Chris Godwin. Went to the judges. It was not a unanimous decision, but it did last all 3 rounds there. I guess 4 rounds there. Going forward to Battle 2. This one's fun. Now, this is our heavyweight big man brawl of the night. I present to you, in the blue corner, Mr. Sam Laporta. In the red corner, Mr. Kyle Pitts. And in the green corner, Mr. Pat Freiermuth. Fight!
You're going to make me say this on a show that's recorded that people can hear. Sam Laporta, he costs too much. What are we doing, people? Like, as of right now, I don't even need to pull up his ADP. He's in the second round.
Yeah, ADP's 18. Oh, yeah, it's 18 in best ball and 27 in like dynasties, which is crazy.
What are we doing? What are we finally? So the reason that you would take a tight end early is because they are head and shoulders over their peer group. Is Sam Laporta head and shoulders? No, he barely squeaked out a tight end 1 finish because other players just didn't play a couple of weeks. So I cannot stomach the cost there. Now let's take Kyle Pitts' target share over his career. It's been north of 20% twice. It was just under 20% when he got hurt. This is a talented player who is still younger than Dalton Kincaid, by the way. If we take Kirk Cousins' career averages and Kyle Pitts' target share averages, you put them together, you get a tight end 1. I would just rather take that at his cost because he's burned people so many times. So give me Pitts, then Laporta, then Freiermuth, because I do think Freiermuth is going to be tough if Russell Wilson plays the majority of snaps. He's never thrown to a tight end. Is Pat Freiermuth the caliber of tight end that he's normally thrown to? He's probably better, but he's not that much better. So I think that would be how I rank him: Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta, then my boy Pat Freiermuth, even though I'm a Steelers fan.
Yeah, so I'm relatively the same thing as you. Sam Laporta is being drafted way too high on one season of excellence, right? We all know what he did last year, okay? He blew everybody's minds, right? But the talent of Kyle Pitts, the youth of Kyle Pitts, the new exciting option that he has at quarterback, and the upside of Kyle Pitts. I mean, the guy is not a tight end. He is a wide receiver. Okay, he's got all the metrics a wide receiver would typically have. I think I would probably go Pitts first. I will say that I'm very intrigued and hopeful to see a healthy Pat Freiermuth for an entire season. I do agree with the Russell Wilson combination and Kyle Pitts Russell Wilson and Freiermuth is not going to be fantastic just because of Russ's history. But at his cost, I'm so down to punt tight end if I have to, if there's other good players on the board, and just rock with Pat Freiermuth in the hopes of 2 to 4, spike weeks.
Or Justin Fields plays quarterback. Now you get the Cole Kmet.
Or
then
Justin
I'm
Fields
extremely
plays running back, and then.
Or what about kick returner?
Kick returner, yeah. The fact that
The
Madden
Madden
had
over. It's
the
so
Madden
over.
trailer made me just absolutely die about that. That was great.
That was so sad.
But I do agree with you. I'd probably go Kyle Pitts, then probably Sam Laporta, and just with the unknown of Russ and Freiermuth, then probably Freiermuth. But to be honest with you, Shane, you left out a name. I'd go Trey McBride over all of them.
Well, we can't please everybody, Matt. And you can't have more than 3 guys in the ring at one time. That would just be insane. Insane.
Give me Evan Ingram as the last guy.
Yeah.
Shane, go ahead.
Oh, cool. I would say, honestly, I'm gonna piggyback you guys. I'm also on the Pitts, Laporta, Freiermuth train. I wanted to put Muth at 2. Like, it took everything in my being not to, just because I love the cheap cost. But even, like, I looked reflectively at my roster percentage, I'm still passing on Muth when it gets to that turn in best ball. And so, like, obviously I have some internal bias that's like, I don't believe that it's the right thing to do for the season. I do think that Muth going forward has some significant appeal, but, he's still young and he seems to be a very good tight end, but it's just, with Russ there, I have no faith.
Where's he going at right now? I don't have the numbers.
He's
right
tight end 14 in best ball. I don't know what his ADP is currently.
15. Tight end wise, he's going. He's 15th ranked tight end.
Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I would like to throw. I know we're not throwing names in the ring, but let's talk about Tyler Conklin real quick. How far removed are we from the Bobby Tunyon touchdowns? Do you guys know who? I think he's been top 10-ish in targets over the last 3 years. Tyler Conklin. Now you take those targets and you go from Zach Wilson targets to Aaron Rodgers targets. Let's not even give him any more. Let's just give him the 87 that he keeps getting. Now you're looking at a tight end 1, and he's going as tight end 20 right now. Give me Conklin for the touchdown spikes.
Oh, 100%. I've been buying that train all day in best ball. I've been laughing though because I honestly thought Conklin may have gotten replaced last year when they drafted Jeremy Ruckert.
So
and they didn't do anything with Jeremy, and I was like, okay, I guess Conklin is officially just solidified there. So
it'd be a hype train, but it's more like a hype bus. We're gonna conk our way through the street.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be real quick on this. I disagree with all y'all. I'm going completely overboard.
Our contrarian.
Yeah, no, I do agree with Kyle Pitts being at the blue corner at the top spot. He is getting the best quarterback he's ever had. He's going to get the most targets he's ever had. He is a receiver, and he's going to get targeted like a receiver because they can't run a shell over London. He's going to get targets over the middle, and we know Kirk Cousins likes to throw over the middle. Then Laporta, wide receiver 1, we know the history of wide receiver 1s, especially in the top 5.
Tight end 1, but
They always change. Yeah, he had one good year. So what? Cool, dude. I think they're going to target that at the aspect that he got targeted in the red zone, and I don't think he's going to get as many red zone touches as he did. I'm going to put Pat Freiermuth into the red corner as number 2, and then I'm going to throw Laporta number 3. Will he finish top 10 receiver? Maybe, probably. But at the same time, for the draft value, I like Freiermuth just because of the roster that Pittsburgh has. Yes, they're probably going to be run heavy, but who else do they have to throw the football to?
Cordero Patterson.
Yeah.
They have George
Roman
Pickens,
Wilson,
Van
George
Jefferson,
Pickens,
and Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin.
Scotty Miller.
Yeah, cool.
Calvin Austin III, though, real sleeper.
Yeah, no, I think they're gonna open up the middle of the field. I don't think Russell Wilson's history aligns with this. I think play action game over the middle will free up Russ to throw the ball over the middle and get Freiermuth targets and TDs.
This is a Darnell Washington conversation.
I would love Darnell to exist in any sort of fantasy relevance, but he's not going to. No, he's a sixth
offensive lineman.
Yeah, he is. He's such a huge human being. Also, Matt, you mentioned Roman Wilson. I heard the most hysterical comp for him was Darius Slayton the other day, and I was like, okay,
really?
Yeah, I was like, all right. Let me just jot that one down in my memory log there. And then our
country, let's ride.
Our last battle of the night, our featured main event. This is your Batman weight class. This is your open, free-for-all, let's brawl it out weight class. The main event features Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, and Jayden Daniels. Fellas, who we got?
Well, if we're following precedent, I'll go first. It's Jayden Daniels, guys. I'm sorry. Like, Josh Allen is electric, and I love him.
Yeah.
We're drafting him as the clear-cut quarterback one, and he probably is still the quarterback one, but I think the gap shortens, and then I think Jayden Daniels is going too late. So people have bought in, like, fantasy managers are smarter than ever. Like, Anthony Richardson, after playing for 4 games, is going as a quarterback 6 because they're smarter, and they get it, and they understand that he's amazing. I can't stomach both of those prices with Jayden Daniels just hiding down there as quarterback 17. So give me Jayden Daniels. He's not nearly as fun to look at as the other two. Like, the other two are giant, hulking human beings that truck linebackers. Jayden Daniels is going to hurdle once and look like a rag doll, and it'll be super funny to watch. But he's going to get up because he's made of rubber bands, and he's going to continue to run the ball. Did you guys know Anthony Richardson and Jayden Daniels have the same rushing yards prop for 2024? Even Vegas views them the same way. If Vegas views them the same way and fantasy footballers view them differently, I think Vegas knows more than I do, so I'm going to listen to them.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't know the prop thing, so that's awesome.
Neither did I. So I am a little bit off on you on this one, Mike. So far we've agreed both times except for this one.
Let me get the gloves.
You'd win. You would win. So going off of kind of what you said, obviously Josh Allen, lots of flash there. You basically know what you're going to get, right? The rushing upside is gigantic. The passing upside is there, but it's, I don't know how to put it. He lost a lot of weapons last year. Who knows what it's going to be like this year? But he throws a lot of interceptions. Okay. But Anthony Richardson, Jason, put your glove down. Where Anthony Richardson's going is it's a little bit higher based off of the short or the little games that he has played. But I really like his build. I like the components around Anthony Richardson. I do like what he can bring to the table as far as rushing. He's got a rocket of an arm. Yes, we haven't seen it on full display, but you have all your pieces back. You've got Pittman, you've got Downs, you've got JT. And newly acquired Adonai Mitchell, right? And I think people are sleeping on him a little bit as well, but I think I'm taking Anthony Richardson 1. I will go probably Jayden Daniels 2 and Josh Allen 3. I just don't want to pay that price of Josh Allen when I know I can get better value there. Like, you know that you're guaranteed 20 to 30 points a game, right, with his fantasy rushing. So but where he's going in the draft, I'm not sold on it. I actually have Josh Allen moved down in my rankings this year, so that's how I'm going.
Jason, take it away for us, buddy. First off, touch gloves, and then take it away. There you go.
All right. So I've gone back and forth on this, and I'm not a believer on AR-17 or whatever he is now. I think it's 15 or AR-5.
And he said
15.
He just wants to be AR.
He dropped the 1.5.
Whatever he is.
Come on.
Yeah. He's mad about it.
I'm a big believer in Jayden Daniels over the other two. I like Jayden Daniels to be at the top based on where his ADP is in redraft. I think that he's got the weapons around him. I feel like with Cliff, they are going to they are going to throw the ball around, especially with Eckler in the backfield. He's going to have a safety net and whatnot. It's just if he believes in that and learns that quickly. I like Jayden where he's at. It's just hopefully he doesn't throw picks and make these stupid rookie mistakes. That's all it depends on. Then I'm going Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. I like where he's at. The only thing that like kept me from putting AR over Josh Allen is Josh Allen stays healthy throughout the year. Josh Allen is Superman in that offense, and whenever he gets in the red zone, we know that he can score. I don't like where he's at with his ADP because guys are going to draft him real early in the third round, especially in redraft, which sucks, maybe even sooner. So with that, it kind of is cringy, but at the same time, he can put up points. We know that he can throw the ball and rush for touchdowns. AR, I haven't seen a damn thing from you. Yeah, we know that you have a good arm. Yeah, you played 5 games last year and you got hurt and you're out for the rest of the season. Cool. You can't do what you did in college. And is he gonna learn what he did last year and put it over to this year? That's my thing, and I know that he's an amazing athlete, amazing quarterback, has a great arm. They put the weapons around him. I don't think where he's at that he is going to sustain that and that he can stay healthy throughout the whole year.
Wait, so Jason, you had Jayden Daniels?
I had Jayden, Allen, AR.
Perfect. Okay. So we currently have a split decision, which is weird. And we don't have a fifth person to drop this to.
We'll have to ask the listeners.
Yeah, well, funny enough, Pete Terranova, Pete actually said that Mike guy is handsome. So
It's
he gave you a little
sash,
shout out there. Yeah, but so I will say I am going to go Jayden. And then I'm going Josh Allen, and then I'm going AR. And it's specifically because AR has yet to make it through a full season, even collegiately, as a healthy quarterback. And while, injuries are unpredictable, it is something that happens, and when it becomes a trend, it becomes an issue, especially when you're drafting him in this 6th-ish round. And I would love to bang the drum. I've drafted AR in best ball and stuff like that because, the ceiling is there. Like, it's impeccable. But Jayden Daniels at the cost that he's at is just too hard to pass on. And then Josh Allen, the cost is high, but you know what you're getting. And if they take the ball out of his hand, he's still going to be a productive runner. He still has weapons. You're going to get a very stable floor. AR, you get a stable floor, but only if he plays. And that's the big proponent you have to think about when it comes to this. And I'm praise hands on that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I have another fun fact that I found. Whenever you're done.
Yeah, rebuttal us.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
No, I love it because first I was banging the drum for Anthony Richardson. I thought he was the quarterback one in the class coming out. Mm-hmm. It was him, then CJ, then Bryce, or actually him, then CJ, then Levis, then Bryce. But we'll talk about Bryce later at some point, maybe in the near future. But passing yards from Vegas. So we already talked about they have the same rushing yards line. Jayden Daniels only has 100 less passing yards for his line. So these are people that do it from FanDuel. So when we're talking about we are trying to project what this offense is going to look like, Vegas is millennia ahead of us. They're saying only a 25-yard or a 25-point, not even a 4-point passing difference. So would you like 4 less points, but 11 less rounds of cost? Give me Jayden Daniels by a mile.
Oh, 100%. On board with that. So the split decision comes down to Jayden Daniels as the winner in the green trunk. So funny enough, we had one in blue, we had one in red, and we had one in green winner. So we hit the trifecta. The whole rainbow has gone through there. And I think that brings us to players we are out on, right?
Yep, players that we are out on. And we got about 15 minutes left, right? So let's go through a couple and just see where it lands.
Do we want to roll through all three real quick, just whenever we go?
It doesn't matter to me. Mike can kick it off on his first player.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm just going to start at the top of the ADP. So we talked about somebody else I'm going to talk about later, but first I'll talk about Davante Adams. He was outside of the top 10 wide receivers in points per game. He is now a year older. And do you guys have a good history of 32-year-old wide receivers doing well?
No.
There are a lot of historical. What about 32-year-old receivers tied to either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew? Either of those get you hot and bothered?
No, not at all.
Nope.
You want to draft him as the wide receiver 9 in the first round?
Sounds like
Nope.
Devontae Hopkins or the Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins?
Real quick. DeAndre, yeah.
But DeAndre Hopkins is going as the wide receiver 30-something, like 36. Or you can take Davante Adams as wide receiver 9. I love the player. I do think that he is still an extremely fantasy relevant and good player. It's hard to see a future where he goes from wide receiver 10 in total points last year to wide receiver 9 this year. So I'm out at him at cost. I don't hate any players. I just hate their costs. It's hard to root for him right now.
I'll go real quick unless we're going to roll all three off.
Just go. You're fine.
No, so I have Jalen Hurts going at ADP at 24. Jalen Hurts had a regression last year. He was arguably I think it was 1 or 2 the year before at the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, he was the QB2 in 2022.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then he was the QB2 in 2023.
So I'm going regression. Stefanski is out of that offense. We've seen what's going on. He is a new center. I know Shane does like the new center that they have from Nebraska. But at the same time, we've seen regression from him, that he does have new weapons. But at the same time, I think it's going to be run-centric, and I think it's going to be short, dumpy passes, especially against that NFC East, who has gotten a little bit better with their defense. But I don't like Jalen Hurts at his value going forward.
Yeah, I do like that. I've been one trying to move off Jalen Hurts, so when you said that, it did make me a little happy inside, but also a little sad inside. So thank you for making me feel all my feelings at once. I will go with my next one. Well, I guess with my first one, and that is going to be a surprise for some of you out there because we've pounded the drum. It is Drake London. Look, the issue with Drake London is his ADP, and that is 100% it. The upside with drafting a player who has yet to produce, and I know that we have Kirk Cousins and an improved offense, and we all expect it to do well, but even if he produces as we expect, you aren't getting value from that specific pick. And who's to say that he's going to produce the way that we hope that he does? He's yet to show it. We haven't seen him be the premier guy that we expect. So it becomes a sunk cost fallacy where, like, I love the player. I love the possibility of him blowing up. But at what point am I comfortable taking him? At wide receiver 13, which is what his expert consensus ranking is, I don't know that I'm comfortable swallowing that pill if it misses. And so therefore, he is a player I'm not drafting at cost. If he falls in my draft, for sure I'll scoop him. But at 13, it's a really hard pill to swallow.
I have a question about that. So we talk about when you draft players, if they fall, when you would start to jump on them. I love London. I do agree he's a little pricey for somebody that hasn't broken out yet. At what point would you jump on it? Are we talking like wide receiver 16, wide receiver 18, wide receiver 20? Like, how far does he need to fall for you to eat it?
Literally 16 is my cutoff. If he is there on the board and it's him, DJ Moore, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, I'm going to hit Drake London. But
okay.
if the other guys available in that same realm are there, like, Mike Evans, Deebo Samuel, those types of individuals, I'm preferring to take those two over London. I just think that 13's a little too expensive for someone who
that wide receiver tier this year is crazy.
Oh yeah, and it's insane to think that, like, at the turn you have this plethora of talent, and it becomes like, who's your preference? And it's just such a mind game of like, am I comfortable sinking this cost and being like, I know this guy's produced in the past and he just didn't this year, or like, I'm shooting my shot and hoping that this guy blows up. And that's where it ends up. And I do have some exposure to London. So, like, it's not like I'm just, like, completely out. But, like, at his cost at wide receiver 13, it's a no-go for me.
Yeah, so my first one is one that kind of seems like it would be obvious, but I have heard a lot of rumblings that their rookies are getting them a little hot and bothered, okay? This first one for me is Justin Herbert, right? ECR has him ranked at 100 right now. His ADP is 84 to 92, but he's listed as a QB 14, okay? When measuring J. Herb just purely off of his physical traits and athleticism, it's really kind of hard to bash this guy because you just look at him and you're like, this dude is a prototypical quarterback with a cannon for an arm and has a little bit of rushing upside. Plus, my two co-hosts, they know I just love this guy. I've loved Justin Herbert since coming into the league. This all said, though, his current situation in LA really seems like regression is almost certain. A sixth-round pick where his current ADP lies just seems too high for me at this time. In 2023, when on the field, he did perform as a low-end QB1 before suffering that finger injury that put him out for the rest of the season. But this season, all his top targets are gone, okay? No more Allen, no more Williams, no more Everett, and no more Eckler. You bring in Jim Harbaugh as the coach, and we all know that he is known for his robust rushing schemes. J. Herb has to pray that he will be able to rely heavily on his young wide receiver core that includes Josh Palmer, who has shown us that he is capable at times. He's shown some flashes. QJ, who was a first-round pick, but clearly disappointing last season, posting 38 receptions on 431 yards and 2 touchdowns. They also have 2 journeyman tight ends in Will Dissly, we call him Big Montana up in here, and Hayden Hurst, who has traveled, right? They have never really been tight ends that have just made me want to say, oh, I got to go get this guy in a trade. They did add Ladd McConkey in the draft, who all three of us, we like old Ladd McConkey, all right? And Brendan Rice, who does have the pedigree, and no one is talking about him, right? He didn't do good in the combine or anything like that, but you still got that pedigree behind you, right? Justin will need to rely heavily on this core to help him get to where he wants to go. I personally just don't see it happening this year. That's why I'm currently totally out on old J. Herb.
That's fair.
Yeah, I get it.
Can I flip the coin around real quick? Justin Herbert, I'm going to flip the coin around real quick. Justin Herbert now gets a Greg Roman offense that gives designed quarterback runs and puts him in space. Who has a higher relative athleticism score, Justin Herbert or Josh Allen?
And he did run for a lot before his senior year.
It is Herbert.
Herbert used to be a freak in the sheets, and now we're going to let him see him unleashed a little
down.
Yeah, now he's going to be in the streets.
Exactly. I'm about it.
I would absolutely love it because these two guys know my love affair for Justin Herbert.
Yep.
It's so hard for me to imagine that he is going to be like, he's going QB 14. I would rather have Jayden Daniels, who's going, QB 17?
Yep, fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's just we know senior year at Oregon that they didn't run him, but whenever he got in the Rose Bowl, he did run, and we saw what he could do.
Right. No, he's a heck of an athlete. He really is. And Greg, that's a good point, Mike. Greg Roman coming in, we could be seeing some different things.
I'm not saying we will. Yeah. Could.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, who you got?
Yeah. I was going to rant about Chris Olave, but I think if people follow me on Twitter, they've seen enough of it. Wide receiver 11, too high. So instead, I'm going to talk about a running back room, and I can hit my next 2 if you'd like.
Go ahead.
So there's 2 different running back rooms that are they're in the wrong order. The Tennessee running back room currently has Tony Pollard going ahead of Tyjae Spears. Tony Pollard was an inefficient runner behind one of the best offensive lines in football. Now he gets to go behind Tennessee with Tyjae nipping at his heels. If Tyjae Spears was eating into the snap share of Derrick Henry, what in the Kentucky Fried Frick is he about to do to Tony Pollard? He's going to steal the room. So I think they're in the wrong order. I'm out on Tony Pollard. And then I also think the Washington Commanders running back room is in the wrong order. Austin Eckler is a 29-year-old pass catching specialist that's came out and said that he's tired of carrying the ball too much. Brian Robinson is a running back that wants to just run the ball, and is now going to get more open lanes because Jayden Daniels brings a bit of gravity with him. So I think that one needs to flip as well. I won't be drafting any Austin Eckler or Tony Pollard this year.
I like those. I like both those.
I'll go real quick just to end off. I only got one more. My last one is Sam Laporta. I'm out on him this year. We've seen tight end regressions throughout every single year. The top 5 always changes. Yes, Kelsey was hurt. Andrews was hurt. Pitts didn't have a quarterback. We all know Trey McBride stepped onto that tier 1 tight end level. So Sam Laporta, I feel like every defense is going to kind of zone him up or double team him in the end zone. I don't like him finishing in the top 5 this year. I'd rather have a David Njoku. I have a love spot for David Njoku than Sam Laporta because I know that he can get it done in the red zone. He's going to get targets. Deshaun Watson is not my favorite, but I know that he does target him going forward, and I don't think Laporta will finish in the top 3 tight ends this year, and I think he's going too high at his ADP at 27 right now. So I would sell high in Dynasty.
Most missed tackles forced among tight ends last year.
He's
but most
athletic freak.
Yeah, but he got his points in the red zone. That's all.
Well, I'm saying he's great at everything.
Yeah, he was talking about Njoku. Njoku's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were.
I'm backing you up, brother. Get the gloves away.
My guy. I was like, Njoku's my guy.
I'm here to help
you. He is.
Thank you.
Hey, Shane, how many more do you got? I'll do mine if you. I got one more.
Okay, I have 3 more, and mine are all quick. But you go, and then I'll go.
Go ahead. Okay. All right. My last one here is I got Ramondre Stevenson. Okay. This one's a little bit different. This one's just a little bit different for me, okay? His ECR is 65 overall, and his RTS is 43 overall. We all know Ramondre got rewarded with a 4-year extension at $36 million this month, right? That sort of money seems a little outrageous considering his production last season, let alone his short career. Since 2021, his rookie year, he missed 10 games since that year and has only hit over the 1,000-yard mark one time. I mean, to me, it's just like a what the heck moment, right? But I will admit, I've been high on Ramondre this year. I've been low on. He's one guy that I continue to fluctuate. I really continue to fluctuate on him. I don't know exactly what I will have him at by the time the season starts, but in 2022, he finished as RB10, but last season, we all know he was a massive, massive disappointment. Did not look like the same running back, and he went into a timeshare with Ezekiel Elliott before he sprained his ankle in Week 13 and missed the rest of the season. His newly formed contract leads me to assume that, yet again, he is the RB1 in that backfield, although no one is talking about their other running back, Antonio Gibson, who will surely zap some of his pass-catching roles as the RB2, looking to resurrect his own career after Washington released him. I want to say everybody just keep your eyes on Antonio. There could be a possibility that he might do some special things this year. Projecting a bounce back year for Ramondre is well within the range of outcomes if he can stay healthy and stay on the field. It does look like ECR is factoring in his injury history and his lackluster reception totals, but Real Time Sports is hopeful that he can return to his 2022 form and totals in their specific rankings. All I can say personally is tread lightly on Ramondre. I do believe that he is a trade for guy right now with that hopeful upside, and I do not blame anyone who is fading him based on the fact that New England will be down a lot and will attempt their fair share of passes throughout the year, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or Drake May. We don't know yet. Hopefully it's Jacoby Brissett. I again have faded Ramondre currently. and I don't know when he will go back up on my list, but right now I have faded him down just a little bit.
Fun fact, Antonio Gibson is younger than Ramondre Stevenson.
Which is insane.
I mean, what do you think about that real quick before you go, Shane? Mike, do you have any thoughts on Antonio Gibson? I mean, no one's talking about him.
Yeah. So we actually, we talked about him on our show, funny enough, which you said nobody, and I was like, we have. I think he's going to cut into the work, and it's just going to be a gross timeshare in a bad offense. And RB20, like that is a serviceable RB2 that you're hoping for. Pollard is going after. Spears is going after. Like I would rather take a swing on one of the other muddy backfields that hopefully can be a better offense. I'm not expecting New England to make this like resurgence to glory. Maybe Drake May does the CJ Stroud thing. We all look stupid, but I don't think Ramondre is going to be the beneficiary there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, New England has
Shane?
no pass catchers, so that's the other issue. Is at least CJ went in and had weapons.
Will not take Javon Baker or Demario Douglas. Slander.
Hey,
we can slander.
We are Pop Douglas stands here. So I'm sorry. I will renege that statement just a little bit, just a little.
Hunter Henry, the Red Zone king.
Yes. The only returning, I guess one of the only returning targets right there.
Juju Schuster.
Jeez, the ghost of Juju. As a Chiefs fan, I'm so glad. But anyways, I'm going to group two of mine just to make it quicker. DJ Moore and Xavier Worthy. Look, DJ Moore is going at wide receiver 16. You guys heard me talk about London and his cost. DJ Moore has a more crowded wide receiver and, rate of contests for receptions and target share. And he was funneled most of the touches last year. I do think he will still be productive. However, I think it comes majorly off of spike weeks, which are insanely hard to predict. He's going to be okay for best ball. Not a fan of his cost and not a fan of trying to manage that in my redraft league this year. Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice is not likely to be suspended for the whole season, which kind of was what one of the trends was early on in the season, or this offseason, was that Rashee was going to get suspended, which steamed Worthy up. Worthy has all of the hype around the fact that he's an absolute burner. There is still Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce, and in KC, everything runs through TK, baby. So I don't really see the value in Worthy being the third wide receiver option already, and then if Rashee comes back, being the fourth wide receiver option. That's just a hard no for me, and I'm a KC guy, so you know that's painful to say out loud. Last but not least, I'm going to stay in the division here. Javonte Williams, my guy. Look, I know that you're supposed to buy in the year after the ACL tear. However, he looked like an absolute shell. There's all of this steam coming from camp about every player not named Javonte in the running back room. I'm curious as to how much he can hold on to the running back share and what should already be a degraded Denver offense. It's very similar to the Ramondre Stevenson case where, sure, he may have the talent. However, it's not a position I want to be in. It's not a player I want to hold on to. So that's why I'm out. I hope for the sake of all things that Ramondre proves me wrong. But I don't see it happening. At least not this year. Maybe he goes to a new place and gets a resurgence. That would be sick. But I just, my tarot cards are saying no on this one.
Mike wants to
if
say
I may
something.
offer, Javonte Williams as a rookie led the league in missed tackles forced per carry. The Denver Post, who is going to training camps, have nothing but glimmering things to say about Javonte Williams. MLF Football, which is just some teenager running an aggregation account, has nasty things to say about Javonte Williams.
Indeed.
I'm going to trust the Denver Post. So at RB25 prices, I will not accept this Javonte Williams slander. Williams, although I did just sell him. So
yeah. And what's funny is the fact that I am also I could buy him and there's a chance that he blows up, but and at RB25, it's definitely worth it. But most of it's sunk costs for everybody in Dynasty.
Some dynasty manager offered me Brian Robinson at a 2 for him, and I was like, okay, moving in the same tier, getting a 2, I'm down.
Yeah, and that definitely fantastic trade. But yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, cool. I hope that he holds on to his position, and but it's a new coach. I mean, it's the same coach, but we never know what Peyton's gonna fucking
quit him. Just can't quit him.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap up today's episode. Before we close out, again, special thanks for Mike coming on to the show here with us today. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. But Mike, tell everybody where they can find you and your show and everything else.
Yeah, of course. So go ahead, you're already on YouTube. Go to Fantasy Football RPG, subscribe to us, check us out. We have our divisional previews going on right now, so we're running through every single one. We just did the NFC East in all of its glory. Spoiler alert, CD Lamb is good. But that's where you can find our podcast. You can also find the Spotify, Apple, whatever. Just look for the dragon, this funky looking dude. And then you can also find me on Twitter at FF Mike Kash. That's with a K. It's short for my last name, which is too confusing for people to spell. And that's where you can find most of my stuff. I post all of my articles there. So if you're looking for Last Word on Sports, Fantasy Football Astronauts, Roto Baller, wherever I get published, you can find me there.
Also, sick plug for Mike's podcast. If you are interested in the AI space and how it affects fantasy football, they did an amazing episode on that. So I will plug that episode. Go back and listen to that one because honestly, it was really cool. It opened my eyes and I was like, oh, that's sick. I haven't thought about just the whole realm of that yet. And yeah, it was a great listen. So definitely go check them out.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah,
and thanks for having me on. If people are still listening, hit like, hit subscribe. These guys do great work. They pour their heart and soul into it. Obviously, they're prepared and educated, which I love to see. So if you're not following them already, follow them, listen to them, love them because they've earned it.
Oh, appreciate that. Appreciate that, Mike. For real, though, go check out all the content, guys. We put out stuff. Mike puts out stuff. Hopefully, you guys can go check that out and just follow both of us because it's a grind. It is a grind. And if you do your research and your homework, we do truly believe that good things will happen. So that being said, to my two co-hosts, I know next week we do plan on doing a mock draft episode with another guest. Yeah, I mean, just keep doing your thing. We're going to keep doing ours. So with that being said, y'all know what to do.
Hey, fellas, it's been real. And lady fellas, shout out. Bet on yourselves. Come check us out. We'll help.
Mike, you, man. I appreciate you coming on. This was a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
It's always fun to talk all about it. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. We'll catch you next time, guys. Bye-bye.